All right, Jeff, thank you for helping out today. I'm going to get started. My name is Tim Krasinski. I work for the Bureau of Special Ed as a policy advisor. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and what I would like to do first is just talk about our today's agenda. Once I review the agenda, I'm going to review a process for minutes that we're working on. I'm going to show you the actual minutes and then the template that we're going to use to display those minutes and get them out to you after the meeting. So for our agenda today, we have obviously Dr. Carol Clancy will give our Bureau of Special Education updates. We'll also have the ARC of PA. James is here.
No, I'm using my.
I'm sorry. We will have our Families to the Max report. Jackie is here. We're going to have a discussion with Carol and Ken regarding the State Task Force handbook and the public comment process, and also some new business. Carol and Ken will talk about getting the local task force meeting information to parents and State Task Force PDE conference dinner and collaboration time. So we'll try to get everything through on our agenda today, but the first item I'd like to do, Jeff, if you could please pull up the meeting minutes from September 24th, please. I'd like to show everyone that document. Thank you. Jeff, could you enlarge that just a little? Perfect. Okay, so these are basically just some basic meeting minutes that we took from the last meeting. The first section is just the attendees. Jeff, if you could scroll down. The attendees, we have the agenda overview from the last meeting. Jeff, if you could scroll down, thank you. We had a welcoming and opening remarks. Dr. Clancy gave the BSC update. We had the Bataan website navigation with Carol Good, Families to the Max, the ARC of PA legislative update, the State Task Force structure discussion with Ken and Carol. Then we had public comment and adjournment. Some of the key updates and discussions. Jeff, if you could scroll down. The Bureau of Special Ed, Carol talked about the OSEP monitoring. She talked about special education enrollment. We talked about LRE trends. We talked about determinations and some federal updates. Carol Good from Bataan talked about sign-in and resources from Bataan, training calendars, also about YouTube navigation and publication ordering. We also had Families to the Max present. Jackie talked about courses in English and Spanish, virtual villages, Spell Grant, family ambassadors, and Bataan contacts. The ARC of PA, James gave us legislative updates. Those updates included the state legislation, federal budget, and autism research statement. And then number 5, we State Task Force structure discussion. We talked about the 4 official members, the handbook, some public comment procedures, which will continue today, the feedback loop, and submission of local task force minutes. We also had some action items, which was a handbook review, public comment process, a membership finalization, resource hub development, and when our next meeting was. And from last time, Jeff, if you could scroll all the way down, we had 2 public comments, one from Pam and one from Cecilia regarding the BEC, and Cecilia regarding the task force meetings themselves, and we adjourned. What we'd like to do is take some notes and let it become a more formalized process. Jeff, if you could pull up the next document, please. The next document you're about to see is just a template, but it's what we're going to be putting out after each of these meetings, so everyone has a much better, much clearer, and much more transparent minutes. The minutes will also still be recorded and on the Bataan site, but we put this form together just so everyone could take a look at it. It's again, the State Task Force on the rights to education. We're just going to put our members in attendance. We're going to put all the presenters down, everyone who is in our audience today. We're going to do a call to order. I will fill in old business, new business. We will give some updates if there are any updates, but I will include all the links in there for Bataan, the State Task Force website, the Bataan website itself. Keep going, Jeff. Thank you. We're going to put all the dates that you would need right here for the task force meeting dates. And the one thing I just want to call your attention to is the PDE conference. Remember, that is February 25th to 27th. That's at the Hershey Lodge. And again, we'll put these reminders in. Jeff, if you could scroll down a little. So we're going to just, any updates that happen throughout the meeting, they will be in any of these topics. Jeff, could you just scroll up just a little, please? Thank you. So anything from ODP, the Governor's Advisory Committee, the ARC of PA, all Carol's updates, any future agenda items, and any reminders. So I just wanted to put that template out to everyone today just to see, again, in discussing with Carol and Ken, we want to make this more formalized and as transparent as possible. So we'll start going forward after today. I'm going to work with Sharon and Jeff. We're going to get this template filled in, get their approval, and then we will send it out to everyone after the meeting. Jeff, thank you for sharing today. I appreciate it. All right, at this time, I would like to turn things over to Dr. Carol Clancy for our Bureau of Special Education updates. Carol?
Thank you, Tim. So to get started, I wanted to introduce Tawanda Jackson. She is here representing ODP. So it will either be Tawanda or Kristen that will be here to satisfy that portion of the state task force of having ODP represented. Tawanda has a lot of tremendous experience. She also serves on the SEAP committee, SEAP panel. So it's a really nice connection point to keep everything very fluid. Before I move on, Tawanda, did you want to say anything? You don't have to.
Just thank you for the invite. I am, as Dr. Clancy said, representing the Office of Developmental Programs. I will fill in when our Deputy Secretary, Kristen Ahrens, cannot attend. And just thank you for the opportunity. Glad to be here.
Outstanding. So it's great to have 3 out of the 4 members. I have not reached out to the governor's office yet for their representative. It is, as you are well aware, super busy with the budget conversation. So I wanted to wait for some of that to settle. And then we will have a continued outreach to have the governor's office representative here. So we have all the parties that that are required to be here. I also wanted to just talk to Ken and Tawanda, if you are comfortable with the basic framework that Tim just described for minutes and process moving forward. We can certainly tweak it, but that was some work that he had done behind the scenes to try to help organize us and formalize the process moving forward. But before we move ahead, I just wanted to check with the both of you. Are you comfortable with how we displayed it, or do you have any other ideas?
I didn't have any. I think it is great to have somewhere to be able to have notes in the same way, in the same manner. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Tim, for working on that.
Wonderful.
And then I don't know any type of updates. I can definitely, fill in where we need to as far as it goes for the ODP updates.
Okay, thank you.
This is Ken. Tim, great job. Thank you so much. The only thing I would add is we're going to talk a little later in this meeting about comment from, so maybe at the end of the document, we could have a section that says comments from audience member or attendees.
Absolutely, Ken. I will add that. No problem.
Probably public comment. Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. All right, so I'll move on to the BSC updates. First, in the area of federal updates, congratulations, happy anniversary on November 29th. We will be celebrating the 50th anniversary of IDEA, very timely. So I certainly wanted to recognize that. There was quite a few pioneers leading this way 50 years ago, one of which was Pennsylvania. And the result of the Park Consent Decree is this state task force and the local task forces. So the revitalization of these entities is extremely timing, historical, and hopefully going to continue the legacy for the next 50 years. So congratulations to some of you who have been here for the majority of the 50 years. I'm not making any comment on age, but there are some of you that have been here for the full ride, and we certainly owe you our appreciation for your leadership and vision and tenacity to support us to this point. On to some state level, federal updates. The federal government, it continues to be closed, but it is not impacting the work that we're doing in Pennsylvania. We are continuing to move forward in everything as required under the law. We have all of our GANs, the IDEA GAN, the grant award notice, excuse me, the IDEA grant award notice, the SPDIG grant award notice, the deaf-blind grant award notice, and the PTIs. So Pennsylvania has not had a significant issue with the closing of the federal government at this point. Personally, I've had some issues reaching out when I've had some questions, but nothing that would impact the work that you do in the field. We are having quite a struggle with not having a state budget. The implications of that are very real within Pennsylvania right now. I am hearing some hope that we could get a budget soon. So we are sending some positive energy to the General Assembly to continue to go through the negotiations, because that is a detriment. Without having a state budget, we do not have any spending authority, which means we cannot send out any state or federal funds. So although we have the federal funds in Pennsylvania, technically we do not have the authority to push it out to the LEAs, and many LEAs are really struggling right now, as well as APSs and so on, without having an income. So we are hopeful that we will have a state budget soon. When we have a state budget, we will be releasing Attract, Prepare, and Retain grants, the Disability Inclusive Curriculum Grant Cohort 2, as well as another series of opportunities. Paraprofessional grant to go from associates to teacher certification grant will be coming out shortly. There is a travel ban, which is hindering our ability to be out and about. So every meeting I've had this week where I was supposed to present is now having to do virtual or recorded. And I apologize for that. It's not how we like to operate at all. It just is the nature of our current circumstance. Dr. Rao met with our CEEP panel and went over all of the recommendations, which I have available to show the group in summary. I think it's very good for everybody to be aware of the work that we're doing, and so we can keep the synergy and keep the work lined up. So I'm going to share my screen and hope this works well. So the CEEP recommendations are in the area of their committees. There is Crisis Prevention and Restraint Prevention Committee. They are recommending that we look at our risk data relative to LRE. They are recommending we provide some local boot camps at the intermediate unit level for leadership to proactively address behaviors such as working with principals. And they are recommending more family involvement in positive behavioral supports. On the Family Engagement Committee, they are recommending that through our training, we indicate there should be meaningful family engagement in the special education planning process, and we would be pointing the schools to the local task forces to find parents to participate in the special education plan development, which occurs every 3 years for each LEA. They're recommending we provide some training in the area of using electronic forms. Some of parents are struggling if they don't have internet accessibility or web versions, and how to use the DocuSign. So we'll work on that. And CEEP is very much in support of the revitalization that we're doing of the local task force and wants us to continue that work. In the area of inclusive practices, they are recommending that we review all of the language and line up the framework for access and belonging to supplementary aids and services, and make sure that we are using the same language across all of our documents. They are recommending training for non-core teachers, meaning art, music, PE, and so on, because we are pivoting our training out of our patent systems for regular education teachers, but they're asking for us to provide more intentional support to those teachers. They are recommending that we provide more training for school leaders in the area of access to general education for all students. We recently were focused, Pennsylvania was recently in the spotlight nationally on Education Weekly for our Pulse training, which is principals understanding how to lead special education. It's a patent course where principals can earn hours, and it's all about special education. Based on that impact, we will be developing a Pulse 2.0 through the Standards Aligned training system at PDE to continue provide training to principals to support the service delivery models within school districts and school buildings. So we're very excited for that, and PDE is standing behind this work. We are excited about the reintegration protocol, which was an idea that was sparked at SEEP to when students transition from concussion back into school, there's a pretty articulate transition protocol to support that student. And there was a student that had a mental health crisis and also experienced a concussion. And the path back to school was so vastly different than when she was trying to recover from the one health injury opposed to how she was supported when she was returning after a mental health crisis. And it really elevated the need to support students when they come back to school after treatment. So the SEEP made a recommendation. It actually went to the Office of Wellness of School Climate and Wellness Office with Dana Milakovic and Dr. Curran, and they developed a reentry protocol to support when students are transitioning back to schools. They currently are training intermediate units, and it's really getting a lot of traction and positive feedback. So it's something to be aware of if you are supporting a family or a student in such a situation. They also are recommending that there is in the mental health repository of supports, that certain supports that are specialized to support students with disabilities, it is coded as such or filtered as such, because there's so many supports out there, but they're not all able to support all students in the same way. So having the ability to sort it out so those that are seeking strategies or supports are able to target in for the particular students in which they are supporting. Finally, the transition committee is recommending that we focus on middle school transition process. So we're looking to add in a community of practice as part of the transition community of practice focused on middle schoolers, and to have a capacity building institute or a make and take in the summertime to bring middle school teachers and resource them with tools and tricks of the trade, particularly in the area of grade level assessments, to support the transition process in a more targeted way. And they would also like us to focus on the social and emotional impact of employabilities, teaching those skills to support students to be even more employable. So those are the recommendations from SEEP that I thought this group should be aware of. That the SEEP team met with Dr. Rowe and reviewed last month. Another topic to be aware of is that we are currently reviewing the LRE BEC based on the feedback from the last state task force meeting and the public comment. The particular area of concern was relative to language regarding meaningful benefit or more benefit from being in the general education classroom, and asking us to really look at that language. So we are going through a process of looking at the history, how it was developed, where that language was pulled from, and if we need to revise it based on public comment from the last meeting. We are also looking at our equitable participation proportionate share back based on some asks from the PA Catholic Coalition, ensuring that it lines up with federal law. So we could also anticipate a change to that BEC in the near future. I've been communicating pretty regularly with the intermediate units in this space since they are the LEA according to state law for equitable services. Lastly, before I log off, I want to highlight the fact that there is quite a bit of activity coming in from the local task force. I'm super appreciative to the teams that took the work we did over the summertime, developed their strategic plan, and are implementing the plan. Tim is receiving minutes from meetings. I'm receiving feedback from meetings that in certain areas of the state, it's going extremely well, and there is definitely synergy and movement in that direction. I received this article, which I thought was just outstanding coverage of the task force promoting advocacy education for families of students with disabilities. And it's just highlighting this particular task force 3 and the work that they are doing and the intention and advertising. It was a really nice article. If you didn't have a chance to see it, I will put it in the chat, but just really speaks to the mission and the momentum that this work is receiving, which is a direct result of all of the work that you are doing right now to help this keep going. So thank you very, very much. And I'm going to put Tawanda on the spot. But Tawanda, I was going to take some time to go over your new resources. And I didn't know if you wanted to speak to that or if you wanted me to speak to your resources.
I mean, I think you can start and I can jump in.
Alrighty. So I want to make sure you're seeing the right slide, correct? You're looking at the, okay, so the Office of Developmental Programs, as we've mentioned, BSE, ODP, OBR, we work together regularly. Like I talk to them every week about work that's happening. We do try to work to get the information out as accordingly to all of our constituent groups. ODP has most recently developed some resources, recognizing that when students are in school age, they have access to assistive technology and other resources to support them along their educational pathway. But when you compare what resources are available in school age and you compare to what resources are available for adults, there is a gap. So ODP most recently have developed some resources that we can put in the chat that can support families, providers, and people with disabilities to access resources. And I thought it was very well done. And I said I would share the resources with every constituent group I'm with. So I'm sharing it with this group right now, and I'll pop it into the chat so you can go onto the link and check out the resources. Did you want to add anything, Tawana, or did I cover it enough?
I think you covered it, and I think one of the things we recognize is that, and what this is showing, and it is showing that between the different transition stages, you see that sometimes the communication may be lost in the resources that are available. So we just wanted to make sure that we were able to pull together resources related to communication, because we understand that there is a gap there, and understanding that, or that not everyone communicates in spoken words. So this resource is out there. Our special populations unit focuses on communication, among other things. So if there are questions, please feel free to email the resource account that's listed here.
Thank you. And then Monday is Brain Injury Awareness Day. There will be advocacy at the state capitol. Just wanted to advertise that to the group. Tim serves as the BSC representative on this committee. So again, it's just another example of us trying to receive information and push the information out so everybody is aware. Finally, our Success for PA Early Learners, our SPDIG, our federal grant, one component is improving family engagement, particularly at that early intervention to school age transition. So one thing that they are doing is they are surveying parents and families of their experience. So again, we can put this in the chat, but here we are asking for parents that have experienced the transition to provide feedback in the survey so that we can gather all the content so we know how to adjust and pivot to do an even better job to support this very critical transition. I will put that all in the chat. This update is relative to the amount of training we are providing for our staff in the area of transition relative to the Connecting for Employment initiative, where OVR, ODP, BSC, IDEA Transition TAC are coming together every year. They write a strategic plan and then they implement the plan over the year. A highlighted focus of this work is the charting life course work. And this very detailed chart is showing the amount of participants that are going through the different trainings across the state in the area of charting the life course, so we can build a consistent understanding of information for the practitioners. So we're hoping in time it will translate to the field and to the meetings and to the services and how services are being provided to students. And those are my updates. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Carol. Appreciate it. At this time, I would like to turn things over to James from the ARC of PA. James?
Hello, thank you very much. Excuse me for my delay there. I wanted to start with some a legislative update on a piece of legislation that's moving that the ARC is supporting. That would be House Bill 1900. It introduces a refundable. Excuse me one moment, so sorry. It introduces a refundable tax credit for educators who spend their own money on classroom supplies, providing up to $100 annually in tax credits. If that credit exceeds the educator's tax liability, the extra amount would be refunded. We did submit our support for the bill, where we emphasized its importance, especially for special education teachers who often face higher out-of-pocket costs, which for them, the data I could find would be that special education teachers are averaging about $979 annually in Pennsylvania for out-of-pocket costs for their classrooms. That usually goes unreimbursed, particularly in private schools. Although this credit only covers part of the expenses, the ARC does consider it a kind and meaningful way to honor and support dedicated educators and just help to strengthen that community. The bill did pass the House Finance Committee by what we feel is a decisive 25-to-1 vote, with Representative Leslie Rossi of Westmoreland County voting against it. However, it's unclear why she voted no. There were no reasons besides the chairman's comments that were recorded. To build upon Dr. Clancy's mention about the state budget and payments to schools, I wanted to focus on some school districts who are now coming out and saying that they will be facing a shutdown if the state budget is not passed soon, which we do believe it'll be passed before their deadlines that they have addressed. One of them is the William Penn School District in Delaware County, which you may recall was part of the basic education funding lawsuit, central to that landmark lawsuit in 2023. It now faces a financial crisis due to the ongoing state budget stalemate, where Superintendent Picotes warned that the district will run out of funds without a state budget by the end of January. The district, which serves several under-resourced communities, is underfunded by $28 million annually and has already borrowed $9.9 million just to keep operations afloat. Their monthly expenses, including payroll and essential services, total $6 million, and that continued borrowing is just unsustainable for the district. Most do expect the budget to be approved soon, likely before that January crisis point, but it just underscores the serious consequences of delaying necessary funding for public services, because now the school districts have to pay the interest on top of those loan payments. On November 3rd, the Philadelphia Inquirer also reported that Morrisville School District in Bucks County is preparing to hold shutdown discussions with students today, actually. As that budget impasse stretches beyond 3 months now, the state treasury did issue a $21 million bridge loan to keep essential services running. The treasurer announced also $500 million in low interest loan programs to help county governments and service providers impacted by that funding freezes. That includes serving rape survivors, pre-K children, domestic violence services. However, some organizations have been expressing concern about the 5.5% interest rate and are calling on lawmakers to waive those fees. I bring this up because as of October 30th, most applicants for that program so far have been Head Start programs. No counties have actually submitted applications as of October 30th. So there are some EI providers who are concerned that their funding is going to be cut by their counties because the counties aren't taking up on that funding availability. So I'm going to just move real quickly into a topic of IEPs and artificial intelligence. I found this to be interesting that it's being reported that teachers are increasingly using artificial intelligence tools to help create IEPs, in that they save time and reduce paperwork. These tools can assist them in setting goals, accommodations, and progress reports, and often can just take those templates and student data and create something, an output for the teachers. Some educators say that AI is allowing them to concentrate more on their instruction and student engagement, but there are some special education advocates and experts. The question that just popped up, I'm sorry, from Cindy, I would just say that they are what's being reported is that they're taking the student data and using that template with the student data, and then AI uses what has been inputted, and so personalizing it beyond what has been recorded for that student. I can't say that it's being personalized, and that's where I'm going next. It's that special education advocates who were interviewed in the Education Weekly article did express concerns about AI and the sensitivity there, warning that over-reliance could produce generic and inappropriate IEPs that do not meet each student's unique needs. There are also concerns about data privacy based on AI generated content and potential loss of collaborative team-based decision making, which is supposed to be fundamental to that IEP process. Future steps may involve establishing clear guidelines, ensuring transparency, and providing professional development to support ethical and practical use of AI in special education. That may need to be legislative or maybe regulatory. House Bill 2002 was recently introduced. I found this bill relevant to this group because it allows Pennsylvania to join the Interstate Compact for school psychologists, which compacts are a multi-state agreement designed to streamline licensure and improve access to school psychological services in this case. The compact would enable licensed school psychologists to work in other member states without having to repeat licensing requirements. It would help ease workforce shortages and increase student access to mental health support. The bill was referred to the House Professional Licensure Committee, and I'm pointing that out because they have already advanced several vital compact-related bills during this legislative session, including relief school counselors and social workers, just off the top of my head. Also, I think I brought up House Bill 1577 in the past. If I haven't, this is a juvenile justice reform bill. We have been supporting this bill. It passed the House with some bipartisan support and was assigned to the Senate Aging and Youth Committee now. The important highlight for the ARC is that this bill would update restrictions on restraints that are being used in the juvenile justice system and attempt to resolve an issue where juvenile justice staff are denying education for youth as punishment. So hopefully if this bill can make its way through the Senate, we can resolve denial of education as part of punishment that the maker of this bill, Representative Schusterman, believes is happening. That's all for my report, Tim.
James, thank you so much. We appreciate your time today. All right, we're going to move next to Families to the Max. Jackie DiDomenico. Jackie, you're on.
Thanks, Tim. I said it the
Yep.
first time and my mute button didn't unmute. I have slides because they keep me in order and I remember what I'm supposed to say. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate the ability to share with the members that are here from the state task force and local task force. As you all know, we offer our foundational courses. We have 5 of which, and they've been offered this fall. You'll see on this slide, the remaining course is Leading Change. It's offered during the evening on Wednesday, November 12th, and during the day on Thursday, November 13th, and it's offered on Wednesday, November 12th in Spanish. So we kind of want to promote that. You can take grab those links and they'll go out when we send the PowerPoint out in the notes as well. We also have virtual villages. These are opportunities for folks to drop in. They can talk about things they've heard about while attending the foundational courses. Oftentimes these are small and more intimate, and we end up talking in general context. If people come in and they have, concerns or issues, we kind of give them some general responses, but we also direct them to resources. Our current outreach right now is attending regional events. There is a Peak Peel Next Gen event at Acadia University that is occurring this Saturday. Several of our members are engaging at SPEL sites, and SPEL is that SPDG, this big grant that we are working on, Success for PA Early Learners. We're working on connecting with the family liaisons, which are team members and family members that are supporting the families in those school settings. We're supporting the Family Ambassador Pilot Program, a lot of collaboration with the leads, Patton and Ida, Early Intervention Technical Assistance, and Pennsylvania's Training and Technical Assistance Network. I'm trying to get away from using acronyms too much because I've gotten too comfortable with them. And in that process, some of the recommendations from family members at Families to the Max are being heard, and then we're making sure we're in turn sharing that with the family ambassadors so that they have a rich source of information that helps parents navigate things. We're also connecting with regional leaders about sharing our common commitments. If you are at all interested and you want to join the network, there's a final slide when I get there. You can join the network, puts you on the mailing list. You get the, I would like to say bi-monthly, but sometimes it comes out 3 times in a month, newsletter with information that is shared. Carol has already talked about this, but I wanted to bring it up again. We have the SPEL Family Engagement and Transition survey. The deadline for this is November 25th. I will point out that we have been promoting this since July, and we have 70 replies. And that's the reason I'm bringing that up is I actually Googled how many children are served in the state of Pennsylvania under special education, and it's somewhere around 300,000 or more. Carol probably has an exact number. I wanted to share, and I'm going to open let's see if this works. If I open it here, does it open? No, it opens on my other screen. Let me drag it over and see if you can see it. Now, do you see it, the survey? Good, I see heads nodding. So here's the big thing. It's the Family Engagement and Transition Survey. When you come in here, you do not have to give any identifying information. Your name isn't collected, your email isn't collected. They do ask to make sure we're getting people from across the state. So it does ask your county and it asks your school district. You can answer either any of the 3 areas, birth to 3, 3 to 5, or kindergarten to graduation. Both the infant, toddler, and preschool basically, I have to lie and tell them a county and a school district. Both ask these 5 questions, basically stating what your family engagement felt like through your early intervention setting. If you answer school age, you get the same 5 questions. It's just phrased as, my child's special education program offers flexible scheduling for meetings, promotes partnership. These are the kind of things we're asking if you strongly agree, agree, neither agree or disagree, or strongly disagree about, and they're all focused on family engagement. If you answer yes to the following question, my child has recently transitioned. If I don't answer these, it won't let me progress. My child has recently, is 5 to 8 years old and recently transitioned from preschool. That is when the survey then gives an additional number of questions about that specific transition. So if you currently have a child receiving special education services, I encourage you to get the link and answer those 5 family engagement questions and share it with any of the families that you have. If you work with families, you can share this with families that are in early intervention or school age. They will get those 5 engagement questions. And if they have a child who's recently transitioned, they'll get additional transition questions. As I said, I'm hoping to get our numbers up out of the double digits and somewhere into triple digits would be really helpful. That being said, if you want any more information or would like to join the network, you can use the tiny URL here or the QR code. It takes you to that collaborative practices page on the Patten website. Joining the network would again get you on the mailing list, and you'll get notified of training courses when we offer things to families that are like conference scholarships. And if you have any questions, you can email us at f2max@patten.net. That's it, Tim.
Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate it. All the information from Jackie and James will be put out in those minutes that we will put out after the meeting today. So I just wanted all the QR codes, the links, everything will be on there when we send that out. So thank you both very much. Appreciate your time today.
Tim?
The next section, yes.
I'm sorry, this is Ken. I had a question for Jackie, if I could.
Sure.
Yeah.
Jackie, do you and your colleagues have a theory on why you're getting such a low return rate?
Actually, one of our members said that, and she saw that 5 to 8 year old question, it deferred her. She thought it was only for people who had recently transitioned children. And so that's why we're kind of promoting it as the Family Engagement Transition Survey. We want to make sure that we're getting as much as we can get across the Commonwealth around how families are feeling about how their service provider, whether it's an early intervention or a school district or an approved private school, whatever their setting is, that they feel they're being, let me rephrase. We want to know what their opinion is on how they're being engaged, because it can redirect us to go back to either Families to the Max to develop something around how to implement better family engagement, or we can take it to Peel as an entity, Hune as an entity, and Patten as an entity, and they each have different things they do around promoting family engagement or how schools can better engage families. So that's the core part of the beginning of the survey. The second part is that part about transitioning and recently transitioning. And I often share my son is 28. If you ask me how he transitioned from early intervention to school age, I don't know that I would really have accurate information because I've lost a bit of memory. But I also think things have changed. Things have changed in 23 years. And so we want to know what that transition situation looks like now. And we're trying to promote it through everybody who are like people that are on this call that are professionals working with families, but also families that can share it with families. And every time I do this, I think we're going to get a surge. We're going to get a big surge. So I'm hoping.
May
Thank you,
I
Jackie.
chime in for a moment, Jackie?
Absolutely.
I have an idea. Have you approached the social workers that work within the school districts that attend some of the IEP meetings regarding the transition phase? Because I think that those numbers that are so low is because parents are not aware. It hasn't come to their attention.
And we've put it on social media. We have reached out to professionals at a number of levels. I don't know if social workers is one of them. We've been sharing it kind of like as broad as we can. The early intervention service providers are providing it. So I would think it would reach at least that, that half of the equation. So they're trying to share it with families they know that are transitioning or are receiving early intervention services. We've also been sharing it through like Families to the Max. Patten has posted it on their social media posts.
And all the transition coordinators, I know they have a huge meeting too. Are they all like plugging away and
In general, just for the record, in general, we are struggling with survey completion across the board and everything that we're doing. I think there is a saturation of the field right now of parents, families, to complete surveys. It's one more survey. I'm sure you've received them. So we have multiple surveys out for different reasons, and I feel like there is a saturation in the field regardless of how we are putting it out. So we'll continue to brainstorm in that space. Do you have any other
And if you
updates,
have
Becky?
suggestions, send them in because I'll try and use them.
No, we'll keep trying. Yeah. Ken, did that respond to your question?
Yeah, thank you very much.
One thing I want to add, Tim, before we move on to the next portion of the agenda is I think that after each presenter, we should pause to see if Ken, myself, or Tawanda, or when the other member comes, has any comments or questions opposed to just moving content, because there's a lot of content that was just put out there, and we just might want to give the board the opportunity to reflect upon it. I think that we will adjust our chat for a Q&A so that if people have questions, they can put it into a Q&A and then we can respond accordingly to the questions. I know that when I present and things pop in the chat, it distracts me, and I saw it did the same to James because you want to be as responsive. I'm just talking out loud transparently
fine.
and
I get it.
continuing to
Absolutely.
organize these type of meetings. There was quite a bit of a flurry in the chat regarding AI. And I just want to let those in attendance be aware that it is a committee conversation at SEEP, and they will probably be bringing out some recommendations on maybe some guidance that BSC might want to put out in this space at some point. It was really reflective on AI in meetings, the SEEP meetings, but I'm sure that as it grows, it will morph into AI and the use of instructionally, which is a topic. And I would just remind the group that it's a tool, and how tools used can be good and can be bad. So maybe some guidance around the use of the tool might ensure that it is not becoming a barrier to what is intended, but maybe a resource so that teachers can really focus on instructing with the students and working with the students, which is what we want them to do. But I understand it's a concern. We're hearing it in multiple spaces. So Ken and Tawanda, any questions or feedback before we move on to some of the guts of the meeting?
No, thank you.
No, I would just say that I think that, Carol, as you said about the surveys, I know sometimes it is very difficult when people get so many and knowing where it's from. I think, Jackie, as you explained it and showed it, that is helpful, but I think any ways to make changes would be welcome, but nothing else. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. All right. So Carol and Ken and Tawanda, we have a couple things under old business. The first one, Carol, I think you wanted to talk about the State Task Force Handbook. Any comments or any suggestions regarding the handbook?
Sure. So we wanted to do some work in that space. And Ken, there was some questions as to when was it last approved? After the last State Task Force meeting, somebody did provide us with minutes that showed that the most current version was approved, did come to the State Task Force for approval during that particular year. So I think that was what's the most recent date, 17?
I think so.
All right.
Yes.
So 17 was board approved years ago. During 17, it did come to the State Task Force. Thank you to whoever had that archived and produced it for us, so we knew at least where our starting point is. But I'm open to taking some time to look at the handbook and saying, and I'm transparently saying right now to the two of you, how do we want to do it? Do we want to set up some subcommittee meetings where we're coming together just to discuss the State Task Force by section, or do we want to try to do it section by section at this larger group?
I'll jump in first. I think just for the sake of time, we ought to do it offline in sort of a work session. I know we have to deal with sunshine laws, but I think we can have a work session where we then bring a draft back and talk about the draft at the open meeting. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think we can do a work session and we can still put sunshine on the work session and people can observe our conversations. But I think that it will take some time. So we also may want to say, do we want representatives from local task forces input, or do we want to come up with ideas and put it out to the group and have them give us feedback? I'm open. But I would agree that it would not be time well spent in this larger group.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think that, getting input would be great. And, maybe we could get together in the next week or two and just talk about a process and then maybe get that out to folks, let them know what the process is going to be.
That sounds great. That sounds great. We could even do a stakeholder session just on this, saying people review the stakeholder book, review the handbook, and then we'll come back together. We'll have a stakeholder public comment period, listen to everybody, and then go into the work session. But we'll schedule, Tim, let's schedule a work session within the
Okay.
next 2 weeks, okay? All right,
Yep.
that sounds great. All right.
Thank you.
Are you ready to move to the next topic?
Sure am. Yes, I
Sure.
am. Are you, Ken? Are you?
Yes. Yes.
Tamanda, we're good to go? Okay.
Yep,
Mhm.
we're good.
All right, so the next one was suggest a clarification of who is a member at the initial meeting of a revitalized local task force.
I'll jump in first. I had the opportunity, I was invited to speak to the Lancaster Lebanon local task force and to review the history of Park and the task forces. And one of the questions that they were struggling with was who makes up the first meeting membership? And when do they start adding people after that base? And my suggestion to them, and it made me realize that this is probably a bigger issue. My suggestion was whoever shows up for the first meeting of the revitalized LTF is your membership. And then from that point on, you can add members. But that would be my recommendation.
That makes logical sense to me. The only thing that's resonating in my head is this something that we would address in the handbook? Is that a portion of the handbook?
I'm not sure because I think we're in this unique situation where we're revitalizing
Yeah.
the task forces. And the question was, there had been members who came over the years to the Lancaster Lebanon task force, and they didn't know were all those people members. So that's why I sort of thought maybe the recommendation might be whoever shows up for your first meeting is your base membership, and then you add people moving forward. Because the handbook does describe how you add people.
Yeah, that it totally makes sense to me. Yep. Do we need to, we can add that to the minutes and then local task force can reflect on that if they have any questions. We have it memorialized in the minutes from today. Does that work?
Should we just technically the members of the state task force vote on it? So it's a recommendation from the task force.
Yeah, so why don't you make a motion?
I would move that we advise local task forces on what their base membership is for the revitalized task force are those people who come to the first meeting during this revitalization period, and then they can add people moving forward according to the handbook.
Yep, I approve. Tawanda, do you second?
I guess I have a question. In the
sorry.
chat, I'm sorry, in the chat, it says that someone put in the chat, it says in the handbook, you must attend 2 meetings and then vote them in. So, and then someone else is asking a question about defining this first meeting after revitalize. I think Ken, what you're suggesting is making sense, but I guess I'm wondering, making sure that it's not in a, not in a, not misaligned from what is in the handbook that is going to be under review. So I think that those are just my initial thoughts. I do think that once you're trying to do this, if you're thinking about trying to start something new, those people who show up first, maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe the beginning part, but I just want to make sure that I'm reading what's in the chat and we're acknowledging what is being said there as well.
May I jump
Yeah.
in? Oh, hi, Ken.
Hi.
This is Susan Cooge. I'm an advocate. I am one of those. I've been around almost 19 years, and I wrote that in the I wrote that, and actually it was me that sent. I have the archive of the last time the handbook was revised. It was 2015. So yes, in the handbook it does say that people need to attend 2 meetings and then we vote them in. But again, that's what's in the handbook. I just wanted to let everybody know.
Right. And that's why I said, if people have a base membership, then moving forward, they can add people just as the handbook describes. But the issue that this particular task force was struggling with was, who is our membership today as we have undergone this revitalization process? Is it anybody who came since 1975? And how do we handle that? And so that's why I thought just the fact that we're talking about this means that it is indeed a question.
And I think that it is surfaced more now because of the revitalization and
Right.
pulling so many new people together. I would recommend that we contemplate this at the work session and come back with a recommendation or a decision at the next state task force meeting. How do you feel about that, Ken?
Yep. I'm happy to do that.
I would be
Tawanda?
good with that too. Because I'm
Okay.
thinking and I'm trying to as I'm reading the chat as well and listen to the discussion, I think there are some things for us to take into consideration as we review it. So I think we should do that and then present it back.
Excellent.
All right. Next topic would be public comment process. I will turn that over to Ken, Carol, and Tawanda.
So we have a pretty organized process at SEEP for public comment where people sign up ahead of time, and then we afford them a period of time for public comment. I don't know if we want to be that formal, if we just want to provide time at the end for public comment. I appreciate the insight that was chimed into within this meeting, and over time, I would hope that we are able to have our full board have a board, but then afford time for people to provide comment to us to consider. So I wanted to elevate this to the board members to say, do we just want to allocate time? Do we want to have people sign up ahead of time? What is our preference for the public comment period?
I think I would lean towards, while I think SEEP's process works really well, SEEP is a much more structured, because it's a governmental agency entity, correct, for all practical purposes. And so if we have time at the end of the meeting for public comment, I think because we use Zoom, we could just use the raised hand emoji, and then Tim or somebody can call on people one by one as they raise their hands, instead of people having to jump in and say, hi, it's so and so. Does that make sense?
Tawanda, do you have a thought?
Yeah, I was going to say I think that I do think allocating time towards the end of the meeting may help to be able to have public comments so people have an opportunity to be able to express any type of comments they may have. I wouldn't say necessarily that they may have to not have to sign in, but I do think that having it on the agenda and being mindful of it and having the time available if people do want to come in for public comment would be helpful so that we know, the last 15 minutes, whatever is blocked off, and we know that's public comment time. Just to have it available doesn't mean everybody's going to always come on, but it is available and afforded to people if they choose to.
Okay, so I would concur with that. So we could set a particular time that no matter where we are in the agenda, we stop and we pause. And it is informal, meaning people can raise their hand and then we can go through public comment. We should give a period of time. You have 3 minutes for public comment in most areas, so something like 3 minutes, and it would be public comment. We would not respond. We would listen to their public comment, but then consider it, and then to see if we need to take action on it, but it's not like an open dialogue back and forth. It's like we're listening to the public comment. Is that how you see it, Tawanda and Ken as well?
Yes, and then because if somebody's not logged on to the meeting, they would benefit from getting a written response to the public comment. So everybody would get that. We'd send it out to all the local task forces. And if they weren't at the meeting, they would benefit from that public comment and the response.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. And do we want to say 11:30 is our public comment period, 11 o'clock in case we have short agendas?
What the meetings are scheduled from 10 to 12?
Yes.
Why don't we? I would suggest maybe wherever we are in the agenda at 11:30 or 11:40 or something like that, we stop, take whatever public comment there is, and if we have items left, we finish them. That's kind of what SEEP does, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We do 11:30.
And I think 11:30 does help, and I do think that, I mean, like, we'll at least know if someone is there and have that time. I mean, I don't want to take up a full hour because we may have a long agenda, but I do agree with that part. And the other part of me thinks is that I know that some parts about public comment is for us to be able to hear and share and be able to take that information back to make changes. So I do think that that's the important part of listening to it and not always responding, because depending on what's being shared, we may need to just take that information back.
Okay, so let's say 11. Oh, go ahead, Ken.
No, I was go right ahead. Finish your thought.
I was going to say, let's do 11:30 will be public comment period. It will be informal. People can raise their hand and have comment, and then we will finish our agenda if there's time, concluding the meeting by noon. We can always adjust it if we need to, but let's start there.
I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah. I was just going to make the comment that we've worked through the summer and through the fall to revitalize the local task forces, and we are revitalizing the state task force as well. So we have some growing pains to do, just like local task forces do, and I think we want to do it together,
Yeah.
As a team.
Definitely, and definitely in a transparent manner. So I know that this is different than how the state task force has been operating for a couple years, but it is getting back in line to how it was operating as intended many years ago. So I would definitely want the audience to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, but I also want to figure out a way that they can feel connected to the work we're doing in some way, because I think that they like the open dialogue back and forth, but that's just not the intention of these meetings. But maybe can not, and Tawana, not to give us extra work, but maybe we schedule like an open office hour or something in between the state task force that gives more of a collaborative back and forth conversation. So these stay as these meetings should, but we create an opportunity for dialogue at another time. How would the two of you feel about something such as that?
I think that those are helpful. I know we use them in our office a lot, just a as we call them, virtual office hour, where people can drop in and ask questions related to a specific whatever is the attendant for that virtual office hour, and have responses and have people on that can answer their questions and provide feedback. And I do think we have seen that it has been helpful because you're not obligated, but it is available, and making yourself available to be there.
Yeah, I love the idea. And because we meet every other month, maybe we could schedule it for the exact day of the month and time in the alternate months. So we can get it on the schedule. And we can all have it on our schedule so we can be available. And
Okay.
people will know that they can come and, you just raise your hand and we'll have a conversation. I love it. That's great.
Just for the record, we have just dedicated ourselves to 2 additional meetings every month. I'm just putting it for the record. We now have work sessions and we now have office hours, but I think that in the end it will be very purposeful.
Carol,
All right.
there was one
Go
more
ahead.
question in the meeting about in-person meetings at Bataan buildings. Are we going forward? This will all be through Zoom. Is that correct or incorrect?
Right now, based on where we are, Zoom allows so many people from across the state to come together and listen, but it doesn't mean it will always be this way. We can certainly talk about having some in-person meetings if we want to, but the attendees of these meetings are really Tawanda, myself, and Ken. The rest are the audience, and I think providing it on Zoom provides opportunity for more and more people to attend. But we can talk about that too.
Okay, all right.
Do Ken or Tawan, did you have any thoughts at the moment?
Right. Good.
I don't have any right now. I'm fine.
Okay.
Let's talk about it later. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, if we're good, I will move on to the next topic. And that was the process for local task forces to respond to parent concerns and just getting local task force meeting information to parents.
I think we're going to continue to flesh that piece out when we pull the local task forces back together in a month or so at the PD conference, taking the final steps of the goals that we didn't finish over the summertime, as well as when you have a parent come to the local task force with concerns, what are your options? Because we want to make sure that parents are heard and have a direction to go based on what they are seeking. It could be an advocate, it could be consult line, it could be just the local task force for information. It could be F to Max, it could be something else, but helping as we develop the resource map, ensuring that each of the local task force are resourced and tooled with options to provide to families that come to the table. I think we will flesh out more at the second Capacity Building Institute at the PD conference.
Okay. Ken, Tawanda, any other questions or comments around that?
No, I don't
I would
have
just
any.
say that this in Gettysburg, as I moved around to the different tables, this always sort of came up in different ways. People broach the topic in different ways, and I know that in the past, what I've seen is, and actually done it as a chair of a task force, we had a small group of the local task force, maybe 3 or 4 people, and they would work with the family to help resolve their issue. So people didn't feel like they were just coming and not being heard. And that small group could follow those steps that we give to them. Maybe they refer to families to the MAX or to the ARC or to the special ed advisor for that district or intermediate unit, and then follow up, and they can report back to their local task force. But that would give some structure to it, I think. But again, we can talk about it with the group and let them. Yeah, but I think it would be helpful if there was sort of one process so for everybody to use, so that we had a way to track it and keep track of what the issues are. I think that would help. Carol, I'm guessing that would help you guys. If you knew what the issues were coming to the task forces, it would help you sort of figure out where you need to do more professional development or.
Yeah, I think you bring up a couple good points where I think there should be a framework of recommendations or guidance to the local task force when you have a parent concern come forward. Here's a framework of decision making on how to get them the help that they're seeking based on what it is. And then I also agree that there should be a collection point so we can look for trends and themes of common concerns, particularly regional, where we might need to offer training and technical assistance or support. I would also anticipate that if a particular local task force is having common themes, that they might come and have public comment and voice the concerns to us here, or they might let the Bureau know, hey, we have some concerns in a particular area that's coming out of a particular LEA, so that we can proactively address it. But I think we can put that all in options of frameworks of how to operate. Again, the goal is that local task force are working with families and schools to mitigate some of these concerns at the local level in a proactive, collaborative manner. But if there's a need for training, technical assistance, or oversight, the Bureau still has the responsibility, and bringing it before the state task force or another mechanism to the Bureau, like you said, the advisor is a good idea, as well as concerns that fall into ODP space. Sometimes the concern, they come to local task force and it's viewed to be education, but it's either an OVR or ODP, but still being connecting points to those places as well. Is work that we need to do as we continue to move this forward. Yeah.
And I would just add, if it's a concern, you know what I mean, like Carol said, from the ODP perspective, you know, we get our regional offices involved as, you know, necessarily depending on where the location is, to ensure that we're able to get further information and provide assistance where we can with clarifying and addressing the issue that is brought up.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Carol, the next topic is the State Task Force Pennsylvania Department of Ed Conference Dinner and Collaboration Time. I know you wanted to cover that today.
So there's two pieces. We have our Capacity Building Institute, which is the day before the PDE conference, which we would be supporting the members to come to that event to continue to keep working on the strategic plan and completing the training. We also will continue to have the event at PDE for the chair and the co-chair, where we have a dinner and an event at the PDE conference. There are opportunities for parent scholarships to attend the PDE conference, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody gets the scholarship, but we certainly will do our best to prioritize the parents that want to be at the conference. My question for Ken and Tawanda is that local state task force dinner, typically we brought together the chair and the co-chair to show appreciation for the work that they've done over the year to run the local task force. And I want to do the same. I want to have a dinner. I want to bring in the co and the co-chair. But I was contemplating simultaneously, the F to Max is having their appreciation event. Usually it's next door. I was contemplating, do we open the doors up? Do we have like a poster session? Do we have each local task force have an opportunity to highlight what they've done for the year? Some of their initiatives. Do we give an opportunity more than just sitting down and having a dinner and showing appreciation? Do we provide the opportunity for the local task force or the F to Max or the PTI or the HUNE kind of like a resource event for people to highlight the work that they've done over the year for an hour, and we just kind of walk around and display our efforts because we can learn from each other and share ideas and connect. I wanted to see what Ken or Tawanda thought about that kind of shift in the dinner.
So how are, I know I should know this, but Families to the Max are organized by regions, correct?
Kind of. They
Kind
are
of.
recruiting
Well,
people.
so-
They are trying to recruit and organize themselves by region. Yeah.
Correct. We're currently the statewide network. We have a council of 10 participants. They are Central, West, and East. We're consistently trying to get regional leaders that we haven't connected with yet because we kind of feel like if you're in a region and you're an active parent, you are a regional leader. Nikki is on, and Nikki is our co-chair for the council. So if you want to ask her specifically, she could also give you some input.
So what about this? Using Carol's idea, what if we set up space for 3 regions by, I guess we'd use the Patan regions, and whoever's there from Families to the Max, or and the task forces would go to that section, and they could all work together and talk and share, and maybe that could help build Families to the Max, and it could strengthen the task forces. I don't know.
I'm just going to remind you that the day before we're pulling all the local task forces together, so they will be together. I was
Right.
trying to find an opportunity, and the F to Max has their thing. They have their thing that already goes on. But Nikki, I'll let you chime in. But I was more trying to figure out a way to. There are a lot of parents that attend the PD conference, trying to advertise what supports are available to them, having, I don't want to require every local task force to have a poster session, but there are some that are doing things that might want to share what they're doing, kind of like a resource opportunity for people to be aware. But it could be a bad idea, and we could just do our dinner and appreciate and have F to Max do their thing. Do you have thoughts, Nikki, before I keep blabbering?
So typically our event is a meet and greet where we bring together, professionals and families and allow them to have conversation and find, things that are happening. I'm not exactly sure, if splitting it into 3 would take away some of that piece that we have going on. But I do like the idea of highlighting each other and the collaborative effort of working together. I mean, at F2 Max, we are all about coalition building, which is one of the reasons why this meet and greet works so well for us. So anything we can do to help facilitate this, if you choose to go that way, we would be on board. But we don't want to lose that piece, that collaborative piece between the professionals and families at the conference either.
And Nikki, if I'm not correct, we also don't want to make it any type of a work session. We do want it to be a casual networking.
Yeah. And we did have over 90 people at our meet and greet last year. So we know the concept works.
I would just add, I think that in listening to you all talk, I feel like the way listening to it in my head is being described as somewhere where you can come into a room and a space and be able to talk to people and find out what resources are available, and it's more flowing and it's not structured to a certain thing, but it's more like a open, hey, I'm from this area. I would not want to say that we would break it down by regions. I think it would be like if there is somebody in there that would be able to talk to, I'm from this area, there will be somebody there who could be able to assist in that area, or at least give them the resource of who is in that area where they may live at if they wanted to do regional. But it sounds like to me what we're trying to say is that opening it up so that people know this is available. If you have time, stop down, see, these are the resources, kind of like an open house type concept of just coming. That's what I'm hearing being described. That if I'm off, then please let me know. But that's what I'm kind of hearing, like an open house, like a resource type expo, sharing information type thing. which I would say would make sense because then that gives people a chance to do exactly what you described, Nikki, interact, meet and greet, know what's in the area, know what resources are available. Carol, as you said, highlight what's going on, what we have offered in the past, and things of that nature.
Are you okay with that concept, Ken?
Yeah, I think the idea if F to the max is willing, you just when our dinner's over and your dinner's over, just invite our folks to come over and join your conversation.
I think that's what we did last year. I think we kind of made sure folks knew they could go back and forth between the environments.
So we'll do the first hour in the individual. F to max says, because you do a dinner and you do your thank yous and you do this. Is that right, Nikki?
No, we just have snacks, so we don't have a full
Yeah.
dinner over there.
Okay. So we might still we'll do the first hour, but you guys do something. You usually talk, somebody speaks. So we're gonna keep the first hour. You guys are doing your thing. We're gonna do the local task force is gonna do their thing in that room. And then the second hour, we will set up kind of like a family resource fair where local task forces, F to Max, HUNE, whoever wants to can come together. I see a lot of ideas pumping in, we can talk about them, but does that at least basic structure make sense for the first year?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Nikki, you okay
we
with that?
we can always improve it.
Always. We're definitely on a path of like, let's get ideas, we'll do it, and then we'll tweak it and we'll see how it goes.
Are we recording all the chats?
Yes,
So
we are.
can see them?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next agenda item, Tim.
All right, the only other thing you had left, Carol, and I believe you covered it, is the LRE Beck concern, but I believe you've already touched base. I didn't know if you wanted anything more on that.
No, we're contemplating the issue that was put before us at the last public comment based on a language request, just so the group knows when we do that, we really have to look at historically why that language was chosen, where it came from. I often find sometimes there's a really good backdrop to it. So we are actively looking at it based on the public comment last time, and I just wanted to let the group know so you are aware that we do take the comments and we do consider them, and we'll have to wait to see after we do our analysis.
Okay. All right.
So we have 6 minutes till public comment.
Tim,
yeah.
Yes.
I had one other thing on the agenda that I had heard from local task forces. It was the getting LTF meeting information to parents.
Yes.
And I'm still hearing that the word is not getting out. And I was just wondering if maybe Carol could send something to the LEA special ed directors and the IU special ed directors, asking them to please get this information out on behalf of the task forces. Just sort of open that door.
Yeah. So I meet with the PIU group every month. Do we have, Tim, did we collect a master schedule of all the meetings? Do you know?
Meetings.
I'm sorry, for all the local task force meetings, did we collect when they are scheduled?
No, not yet.
Let's do that.
Okay.
So we can put it out through Patton East, that group, to collect all the dates. Maybe we can create a master schedule by IU and dates and see if we can get that pushed out in some capacity.
Okay, will do.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
What a robust conversation.
All right,
All
so
right.
we're a couple
I
minutes
don't have
early.
anything else, Carol, on our agenda, so I didn't know if you wanted to just do the public comment section now.
Sure. Let's move into public comment. If there is any public comment, feel free to raise your hand. Sharon?
I can't figure out how to raise my hand, but can I comment?
Jennifer, I just called on Sharon, but
Oh,
then
I'm
we'll-
sorry.
That's okay. So Sharon, go ahead, and then Jennifer.
Sorry, if this is me, Sharon, I'm not raising my hand.
I'm sorry, it was Susan. Susan, did you have your hand up?
Yes, Carol, I did.
Go, that's who I meant. Go ahead, Susan. Yep.
So at our local task force this past Monday, there was a concern brought up to us regarding the safety of our children that ride in vans that are only marked possibly IU or school districts. So parents are concerned because of, and I'm not sure where to go with this. I thought I'd bring it up of where do we go to express our concerns about the safety of our children that ride those vans? They're not like a yellow school bus where they have the lights. So that was one. And the second one is about our local chapter is receiving a couple calls from parents that are saying, public charter schools are saying, we are not getting funded to provide transportation, even though it's in your IEP. So we're bringing that up as for direction of what we should say. What can we do? If this is something you need to email us, that's fine. So those are the only public comments I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Sloppy.
Thank you. So I want to thank you for last meeting explaining what the task force is. It was really helpful, but I was very disappointed that we don't get much engagement from the governor office because there's very real possibility that Josh could be president someday. And I think, this is an opportunity for Pennsylvania to, have real influence on what affects all of our kids. And I've been to my local task force meeting, and everybody always has several very valid concerns. But I think at the state level, like, what do? You have so many small concerns. What is something that is like a big picture? And I think maybe like a funding model of how we pay for special education, I think transcends a lot of the problems that we have. And for what I understand, and I'm just parent, this is not my career or anything, is that federal government gives our kids these rights to education, but they pushed a lot of the cost onto the states. And then in the last few decades, a lot of those costs have got further pushed on to the local municipalities. And this is a family perspective that we get into this Freakonomics funding model, kind of like all you people care very much about our kids and want them to have education, but the funding kind of discourages local districts from really wanting to have our kids because they're the ones that have to pay for it. And I feel like a lot of the legal rights that our children do have to education that we have today, I think a lot of this is due to George Bush #1 and his role as president. And, this was Ronald Reagan's vice president. And I remember when he says, read my lips, no new taxes. And if that man can bring so much advancement for our children to get education, I want to ask, what could Josh Shapiro do for our kids in the future? So maybe funding isn't the big idea, because I know there's a lot of expertise on this call that knows a lot more than me. But I think our group, what issues are most important to us? And can we bring those to Mr. Shapiro? Because I think that could really advance what everybody in the group wants is for our kids to get education. So thank you for taking my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pam?
Thanks, Carol. First of all, I want to thank you for looking at the LRE back, but I just wanted to make sure that we don't lose part of what I said last time, which I think I did a poor job, so I'm going to try again. Not just the example that I gave where the BEC says that you can get greater benefit in a regular class, but there's the whole issue that when we have our chapter 14 105 personnel section, the language there, it determines itinerant, supplemental, and full-time caseload. And I think people get that confused with least restrictive environment, where they say that if you are, let's say, supplemental emotional support, that can't happen in regular education. And we all know it can, right? Full-time, co-teaching could happen in general education. None of that is spelled out in that BEC. And I think that gets really confusing, because what happens in practice is that students are segregated because the supplemental and full-time personnel are down the hall in a different room. And it's seen as, if you're in regular education classes, you must be itinerant, but that's all caseload calculations, right? And I did a deep dive on this with somebody, and those chapter 14.105 was pulled out of LRE in 2004. And I just really think that the BEC doesn't reflect that. And I think there's just so much confusion. So I think that somebody, like chapter 14 actually changed in 2008, but the practice has not changed. So I just
Thank you.
want to add that part. Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification. I needed that. I now that you said that you did mention pieces of that, I just it didn't land. So we will consider that as well. And there is often confusion between caseload in the field. So we might take it as an opportunity to provide some clarity. So thank you. I want to articulate just a little bit around the governor's office involvement here, and just remind this group that I mentioned early on this call that I have not reached out to the governor's office yet to have a member be part of this as we're going through the revitalization. And our current administration has been extremely supportive of BSC education, OVR, and ODP. And I don't want anybody to have the impression that they are not here because they don't want to be. But I will make this a priority ask between now and the next task force meeting, hoping they will have somebody available to attend or a representative. Are there any other public comment?
I don't see any other hands up, Carol.
Okay, so I appreciate everybody's involvement today, and I would motion that we close the meeting. Ken put his hand up. All
10 to
right.
1. Okay.
All right. Thank you,
And we'll
everybody.
get all the
Take
information
care.
out. Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Yes.